Last time we left off with Kon running from fights as often as I run from awkward social situations that would probably benefit me in the long run if I would just get over myself long enough to try something new for once. I've also been told by absolutely no one that it's apparently pronounced Kon, not Con, so if you care about that shit, there you go. We start hard with the softer side of Kisuke Urahara forgiving the unfortunate girl with the two-dimensional hairdresser for being the sole cause of the inciting incident of last week's coolness overload. Cut to a legitimately badass group pose that teases an epic fight our disappointed asses will never get to see, which Bleach uses to remind us in a surprisingly subtle way that we're in this for the long haul. There are going to be more than a few Chekhov's guns sitting around the proverbial fireplace sucking up dust for dozens of episodes at a time. Kon's happy-go-lucky fuck-yourself mood gets undercut by some serious PTSD, which if you haven't noticed is sort of the running theme of this mini-arc. Ichigo stops him from murdering some children though, because I mean, what does he think this is, episode 4? But like every good villainous OC, it turns out Kon has some empathy up in all that energy, and when the big bad shows up, he uses those spindly super legs to hop his way onto a hero's journey a hell of a lot faster than Ichigo did. It sort of makes me more than just a little miffed that they spent all the time developing such an interesting character before relegating him to being a perverse and annoying two-dimensional comic relief mascot, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Ichigo catches up, and seeing this shit show, don't take too kindly to watching his body get ripped apart by a ghost snake for the second time in 4 episodes. The ensuing argument unlocks a hidden combo move that one-shots the boss with the power of irreverence. Kon takes a heroic dive to save the snotty brats from being smashed by a ghost corpse, which is a little less heroic once you realize it's not really his body he's sacrificing. I mean, the dude is basically a gumball, pretty sure he would just bounce or some shit. In the manga, Kon actually does it to save some ants. Personally, I think that's a much more interesting insight to his character, but I understand why the anime pussed out. I mean, it worked for that bad bitch Black War Greymon and a flower 3 years earlier, but maybe Toei Animation's balls are just a bit bigger than, Pierrot Company Limited. Kon moves forward with his backstory, and it's just as fucked up as you would expect. Turns out he was alive and conscious while all the Soul Society scientists decided to murder his entire species. Luckily for the narrative, he managed to escape that little genocide by accident, the psychological ramifications of which being that he's a super soldier with an extreme sense of empathy towards all living things and a moral code a step above Batman's. That's a hell of a mascot character. So anyway, everyone lives happily ever after, at least for the 2 seconds it takes for everyone's favorite sketchy shady black market soul dealer to drop by. Urahara-san pops in to cane tap this cue ball straight in his corner pocket, which is both beautiful and disturbing AF. Just in case he wasn't mysterious enough before, he can also see soul reapers, which isn't a thing humans are supposed to be able to do. Go ahead and check off that check off. We'll be back to fire that one off later. Our best girl ain't having that closure though, and refuses the proposed cash refund because you know how things like that work. You probably won't get the service charge back anyway, and the cancellation fees are always at the discretion of the seller. Can you tell I've been on the phone with an airline lately? We finally reach that place where Bleach does that dirty on my boy Kon and feeds him to a discarded Build-A-Bear. Here he'll live out the rest of his probably immortal sentient existence like some sick Black Mirror Easter special. The manga ends here, but unfortunately for us, we've got 7 minutes of episode left, so now would be a pretty good time to pause and hit that like button so you don't get whiplash from the upcoming 180 mindfuck kickflip of a mood shift we're about to go into. In the opening for Volume 3, Mr. Story and Art by Taito Kubo implores us to read the following chapters on a rainy night. We're introduced to the new normal, which is quickly undercut with a sense of foreboding as Ichigo realizes the date. This new somber mood permeates each scene, continuing even when the story cuts between conversations or locations. The result is a fascinating exploration of the complexities of grief and how people deal with it, complemented by flawless pacing and one of the best soundtracks of all time, which unfortunately I can't play a sample of because TV Tokyo is a bitch. We're finally ready to explore the depth of Ichigo's backstory and the details of his mother's murder. I don't mean to alarm you, but it takes up the entire 3rd volume of the manga, so you might want to grab some snacks before the next video. The rest of the episode is either teaser or filler, and while it's interesting to see Soul Society for the first time, it feels a bit like cheating to do it like this. So I'm just going to look away and hum my outro tune, and we'll meet back here later. Shit, I don't have an outro tune.